Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggin with Athearn, and small disclaimer here, this is a pre-recorded broadcast because as you're watching this, the Athearn crew is just getting back from the Amherst show. Hopefully I get to see you there. However, next week I will return with an all-new Train Tuesday featuring the CA11, and that will be a live broadcast, but tonight it is a pre-recorded broadcast, so there will be no Q&A, but that does not diminish the fact that I've got some great products to talk about, all available for pre-order until Friday, February 23rd. So without further ado, let's jump into some model train goodness. We're going to start by talking about the GP38-2. Now, by the early 1970s, many first-generation diesels were reaching the end of their service lives. The most common replacement locomotive became the GP38-2. EMD began production of the 16-cylinder, non-turbocharged 2,000 horsepower engine in 1972. Unlike the GP38's engine, which drove a generator to supply power to the traction motors, the GP38-2's prime mover drove an alternator which produced AC electrical current that was rectified to DC to power the four traction motors. Another major change for the GP38-2 was the introduction of the -2 modular electrical cabinet. For more than 40 years, the GP38-2 has worked mainline freights, locals, switching jobs, yard service, helpers, snow fighting trains, and hump power. Many of these units still remain in service today. Now, what you see on your screen is the release from the last time we announced these models. This is a MKT, as you can see, road number 313. And while we have sold out completely at Athearn in our distribution center, you can probably still find these at your hobby shop. Now, if you're interested in this locomotive, it is item number ATHG-71823. Again, that's ATHG-71823. Now let's talk about what we're going to be announcing for February and what you can pre-order with your dealer. So we're going to start with Union Pacific. And starting in the mid-2000s, Union Pacific began to rebuild their older EMDs to help extend their serviceable life. Now, these GP38-2s were designated by UP as GP38Ns and were completely rebuilt with an added fresh coat of UP paint. Now, while retaining some of the former Southern Pacific detail spotting features, they were used alongside the rest of the Union Pacific local yard service fleet. Now, we're offering a couple of road numbers here for you. First, you see 578, and this is a 2016 era former Southern Pacific unit, number 4815. It has a whip antenna on its base, and it features two stack exhausts. Likewise, number 594, also a 2016 era locomotive. It is former SP 4831. It will feature large Sinclair antenna on base and a four-stack exhaust. Now, features across the board on these two locomotives feature mid to late body with corrugated grills and Q fans. If you spring for the Tsunami 2 version, these will include RCL strobes, forward and reverse ditch lights. You're going to have a K3 horn mounted on the long hood, UP medium front plow, electronic bell, and extended range dynamic brakes. Now, we still had requests for UP, albeit from an earlier version. So we have some 1980s versions based on Missouri Pacific. Now, after the 1982 merger with the Missouri Pacific, UP inherited a large batch of GP38-2s. They were all dispersed all over the UP system and eventually painted into UP colors, working in yards, locals, and branch lines. A unique spotting feature, not common to UP practice, were the lack of locomotive dynamic brakes. UP would end up inheriting more non-dynamic GP38-2s after the MKT merger in 1988. Now, there's three different road numbers that we're offering here. Each one's a little bit different than the last, typical of the Genesis brand. First, we've got UP number 2165. This is a 1980s era former Missouri Pacific 2165. It has the mid to late body with corrugated grills and Q fans. You'll notice it has the North Little Rock style lettering, angled paper air filter box, side hood mounted bell, late style step wells, and a 3,600-gallon fuel tank. 2257 is also a 1980s era model. It is a former Missouri Pacific, and it was 2257. It has a mid-body with corrugated grills and standard fans, standard UP lettering, squared paper air filter box, frame-mounted bell, early style stepwells, 3,200-gallon fuel tank, and 4 large spark arresters. And then finally, UP 2322 is a 1980s era former Missouri Pacific 2322. It is a mid to late body with corrugated grills, Q fans, standard UP lettering, angled paper air filter box, frame mounted bell, and late style stepwells with a 3,600-gallon fuel tank. Now, features across the board on these 3 locomotives feature a Leslie 3-chime horn. They have painted over class lights, extra jacking pads, non-dynamic brakes, front small plow, and a 4-stack exhaust where noted. And one thing I want to let you know is for the first time with these, we're offering these with lit number boards with the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. In some cases, the classification lights will also light up, but you're going to have to check because this is based on the prototype. So coming up next, we've got Norfolk Southern. With the formation of Norfolk Southern in 1982, the road adopted a simple black scheme with stylized NS on the flanks. Early repaints had solid black frames. White markings were actually added later. These units are of Southern heritage, and they feature the longer radiators that were a trademark of early production GP38-2s. And we're offering 3 versions of this prototype. We have 5007, which is a mid-1980s to early 1990s era locomotive. It's going to feature all-weather window on left side, sunshade and mirrors on right side, grab irons on pilots, and this one will have MU holders. Likewise, 5013, this is a 1980s into the 1990s. It will feature an all-weather window on the left side, sunshade and mirrors on the right side, and this one will have MU hose pockets on its pilots. And then finally, we've got number 5036. This is going to have sunshade and mirrors on both sides, grab irons on pilots, and this one will also have MU hose holders. Now, across the board, the features for these Norfolk Southern units will include 2 Leslie RS5T horns, 2 firecracker antennas, long hood walkway lights, although non-operating, and long hood forward operation. Let's go up north a little bit and visit our Canadian brothers, and we've got some CP rail that was highly requested. Now, Canadian Pacific purchased a batch of late production GP38-2s in the mid-1980s. These GMD built models were spec'd with straight switcher style steps, tri-light class lights on both ends, front ditch lights, a winterization hatch, and the later chute style blower housing, and the bell was mounted between the front number boards. Only a handful of these made it into the repainted scheme with their class lights still intact. By the end of the 2010s, they were all modified with class lights removed. Now, by popular demand, we are giving Canadian modelers an opportunity to add more of these GMD GP38-2s to your rosters. So here we go. We've got a couple of different versions here for you. We're going to start with the 1987 as delivered, as you see on your screen now. We've got 2 road numbers, 3042 and 3066. This is 1987 on up era. It is in the as delivered multi-mark scheme, and it will also feature a relocated horn to the long hood and Timken axle bearings. Likewise, we're going to offer some 2000s era versions of these as well. Now, the 2000s era will have the repainted golden rodent or beaver scheme, as rail fans call them. They're going to have mixed Timken Hyatt bearings, and the plow is going to be per the prototype of their road number. We're offering 2 different road numbers here, 3071 and 3166. So whether you model the 80s or you model the 2000s, we've got some CP models for you to add to your roster. Now, across the board, the CP features will include a first for this Genesis prototype. This is the first time we're offering it with operating Canadian-style class lights. Now, that effect is only with the Tsunami 2 decoder. Also, we're going to have the late body with the corrugated grille and Q fans, front ditch lights, bell between the cab number boards, nose headlight, and 3,200-gallon fuel tank. Another popular road and era that has been requested of late is CSX. Now, after the formation of CSX Transportation in the mid-1980s, it was a colorful time for locomotive power. As CSX was looking into a standardized paint scheme, they chose a blue and gray and a few different variations. Affectionately nicknamed Blue Down by rail fans, this scheme was used to repaint many former predecessor locomotives in the early days of CSX. Some were simply patched with CSX initials before they could be brought in for major servicing and a new paint scheme. First time offered in Genesis, be sure to order yours before it's too late. Yes, it's the first time we've done these. So take a look here. We've got 2611. This is a 1989 on up blue down repaint. It's going to have gray handrails. Likewise, we've got 2623, former SPD with CSX patches, and this is appropriate for 1987 on up. Finally, we've got 2638. This is also a 1989 era blue down repaint. However, instead of gray handrails, this one will feature blue handrails. Now, the colors may look a little bit off depending on how you're seeing this on your monitor or television set. Keep in mind, this is only artwork and it's just showing where the colors are. So we have been working with CSX historians, CSX experts in their field, and can assure you that the colors will be based on these prototypes. So these are going to have early mid-body with wire grills and standard fans. They're also going to have the Leslie 5-chime horn. They're all going to have the nose headlight. These will have the working class lights if you get the Tsunami 2 version. They're also going to have 3,200-gallon fuel tanks. And again, this is expert-approved artwork and colors. So we get a lot of requests, a lot of questions, a lot of debate on social media, as well as even this program, that the colors don't look right. Keep in mind that that's going to change based on your monitor and whatever it is you're viewing. In the end, the production samples will have been authorized by those experts. Now, speaking of Seaboard system, we're going to offer two different road numbers for the Seaboard system. The Seaboard system was formed in the early 1980s from the formation of the Seaboard Coastline, Louisville and Nashville, and the Clinchfield Railroads. It was a rather short-lived officially operating system between 1982 and 1986 before ultimately becoming part of CSX Transportation. During this time, many locomotives were painted into this attractive gray scheme. After being absorbed into CSX, it was still common to see Seaboard system power with simple CSX patches running all over the system, some lasting well into the 1990s. So we've got two road numbers here. We've got 4075 and we've got 4094. These are both based on 1984 on up era. And 4094 is going to be equipped with the cab mounted gyro light, again, an effect that's available with the Tsunami 2 decoder. Features of these two locomotives are former L&N locomotives, early mid-body with wire grills and standard fans, Leslie 5-chime horn, nose headlight, working class lights, and a 3,200-gallon fuel tank. And then finally, another road that's been highly suggested of late, and that's Conrail. And we wanted to give you some Conrail as delivered. So we're talking 1979 on up here. Now, Conrail amassed a large roster of GP38-2s by the 1980s. And in 1979, Conrail ordered class 8224 to 8255 from EMD. Being part of the last few Conrail GP38-2 orders, these featured large front anti-climber, corrugated grills, cab signal box, and dynamic brakes with an angled paper air filter box. Many of these lasted into the split of Conrail in 1999, and could still be seen working for CSX and Norfolk Southern, albeit in their new owners' colors. Now these are all, again, 1979 on up. You can see we're offering road number 8230, 8244, and 8253. Now the features across the board on the Conrail units will be as follows. They will have an as-delivered appearance. They will feature mid to late body style with corrugated grills and standard fans, Leslie 3-chime horn, angled paper air filter box, working class lights if you have Tsunami 2 installed, 3,200-gallon fuel tank, and cab signal box. Now I apologize if my voice is cracking and fading in and out. Keep in mind, I just came back from Amherst of a weekend of talking with many fans like yourself. So I apologize once again for the voice issues. So let's talk about the features of the GP38-2 in general. And it's not quite fair for me to show the MKT because already these new versions are going to have features that that one does not have. And for the first time, we've got operating class lights, but keep in mind that's where equipped based on the prototype. They're all going to have operating number boards, and of course they're going to have such details as coupler cut levers, flexible train line and MU hoses, drop steps unless otherwise noted, MU stands, lift rings, and wire grab irons. Now you can see the complete list of details at athearn.com by selecting the new announcements. MSRP prices on these units. If you go with the DCC ready, non-sound equipped, they're $219.99. $319.99 will get you the Tsunami 2 sound decoder. Again, that's MSRP, so please contact your dealer regarding prices. All right, let's talk tank cars now. We're going to stay in the Genesis line, and we're going to talk about the Athearn HO 13K acid tank car. Now, the one that you see on your screen now, this is the NATX 13002. This is actually available now at your hobby shop. The item number on this is ATHG 25751. Again, that's ATHG-25751. Now let's talk about the roads and the eras that we're going to be offering for you for pre-order, and you have until Friday, February 23rd to complete those pre-orders. So the first three, we're going to start with Union Tank Car. This is a 2005 on era on up. And we see that their reporting marks are UTLX. The car that's pictured here is 125013. Now we're going to offer 3 singles as well as a 3-pack. The other 2 road numbers that we're going to offer as singles include 125019 and 125025. The 3-pack are going to include road numbers 125029, 125030, and 125043. Next is Procore. This is a 2014 on up era car. Again, 3 singles and a 3-pack. The car that you see here is 15210. Their reporting marks are PROX. Keep in mind, I've got 2 more singles to offer to you, and those are road numbers 15220, 15229, and then the 3-pack will include road numbers 15284, 15315, and 15377. The last one that you see there is Ferromex. This is a 2000 era car. Their reporting marks are FXE, and the car that you see on your screen now is car number 418042. We'll also offer 2 additional singles. Those car numbers will be 418057 and 418072. The 3-pack will include car numbers 418099, 418109, and 418119. We have 2 more cars to show you. Let's start at the top here with Rodea Incorporated. This is a 2002 era car. Their reporting marks are RPBX. This is car number 23165. Additionally, car numbers 23201 and 23227 will also be offered. The 3-pack will include road numbers 23224, 23246, and 23271. And then last but not least, we have Asarco Incorporated. This is a 2000s era car. Their reporting marks are ASTX. This is car number 5013. Additional singles will be offered, car numbers 5022 and 5031. The three pack will include road numbers 5042, 5045, and 5047. Now, I do say all of those road numbers just to let you know that all of those road numbers are different. They're not going to be duplicated. So let's talk now about the features of this car. There are a lot of details that make up this beautiful Genesis car. So we're going to be offering two body phases in this announcement. There's early as well as late. They're all going to feature etched metal walkways. They're all going to have a different top platform, which is appropriate to their particular prototype. Different brake systems as appropriate per prototype. Separate wire grabs and handrails. Different end cells as appropriate per prototype. All of the trucks will have animated rotating bearing caps, coupler lift bars, train line hoses, brake hoses, and hardware, body-mounted McHenry scale double shelf knuckle couplers, full underframe detail, which will include the air brake reservoir, control valve, and brake cylinder with plumbing and brake rod details. Machined metal wheels with RP25 contours, so they'll operate on all popular brands of HO scale track, and the minimum radius on these is 18 inches. Now, the MSRP on the single cars is $59.99. The three pack is $149.99. Again, that's full MSRP, so contact your dealer for your price. Now, likewise, we've got N scale for you, and not just regular Athearn N scale. We have Athearn Genesis N scale. Now, we've already announced the first run of these. They have not yet come in, but our wait is going to be soon over. This is one of the production samples that the product developers look at and either sign off on or ask for recommendations. This one here was signed off on, and so that can tell you that soon we'll be seeing decorated versions of these cars. Let's talk about the ones that we're offering for pre-order. Now, like the HO scale cars, we're offering the same road names and road numbers. So I'm not going to go through all the different road numbers, but I will remind you, N scale guys, what roads we're offering, what reporting marks they are, and what year they're appropriate for. We're going to start at the top of the screen with the Union Tank Car Company. This is a 2005 era car, so you can definitely use it up until modern times. Their reporting marks are UTLX. N scale guys, we're offering 3 singles with different road numbers, and you can also get a 3-pack. So there's the option to add 6 of the same road name with different road numbers to your roster. The next car in there is the Procore. This is a 2014 on up car. Their reporting marks are PROX. Again, 3 singles as well as a 3-pack. And Ferromex is also represented in this release. This is a 2000s era car. Their reporting marks are FXE, and again, 3 different singles as well as the 3-pack. Like the HO scale, we're also offering the Rodea Incorporated. Era for this is about 2002 on up. Their reporting marks are RPBX. You have the choice of 3 singles as well as the 3-pack. And then last but not least, Asarco Incorporated, another 2000s era car. Their reporting marks are ASTX, and you can get this in 3 different singles as well as a 3-pack. Now, just because these are N scale doesn't mean that they are small on detail. In fact, there's quite a bit of detail, as you can probably see here in this unpainted sample. I'm going to go ahead and list some of the details. You can see the complete details at our website at athearn.com by selecting the new announcements and the appropriate tab for these cars. So for a first time in N scale, we're offering a Type F double shelf McHenry couplers. These are body mounted, and the double shelf Type F couplers have never been offered before in N scale. They're also going to have separately applied metal grab irons and handrails, rubber train line hoses, coupler cut levers, full underbody detail, including brake and train line piping, etched stainless steel crossover platforms and top platforms, two different body phases, both early and late, different top platforms as appropriate per prototype, different brake systems as appropriate per prototype, different end sills as appropriate per prototype, weighted to meet the NMRA RP-20.1 recommended practices. And the machine metal wheels have an RP25 contour, which means they will operate on code 80, code 55, and yes, even code 40 track. Now the MSRP on the singles is $44.99. The 3-pack MSRP is $124.99. Again, that is MSRP, full manufacturer's suggested retail price, so you need to contact your dealer for your price. Now, once again, not only these N-scale cars, but everything else that I've talked about on this particular Train Tuesday, you have until Friday, February 23rd to complete your pre-orders on these models. I want to thank you all for joining me. I apologize for the weak voice from talking all weekend, but if I did see you at the Amherst show, it was great to meet you in person. If you didn't get to see me, hopefully you get to see me at the next show. Our next show will be the Rocky Mountain Train Show. That's April 6th and 7th. That's coming right up, just around the corner. Until next Tuesday, when we come back live and answer some of your questions, I want everyone out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some good modeling,